that all the ways that you used to do stuff before are gone, right? Or they're on their way to being gone, or they're just started getting gone. The house is either on fire or it's totally burnt to a crisp. But AI is not coming for your jobs, it's coming for your tasks, because this is very highly task specific, this stuff, what it does and doesn't work with. And that's because of the way it works. But this is a red pill, blue pill moment for a lot of people. Some don't realize it, some are still on the fence or anti AI, but you're not going to hold this tide back. And it's akin to an industrial revolution of sorts. And so, what do you do when that happens? Well, you either adapt or you die, to quote Darwin, right? But it's not hard to do, right? Getting to be good at this stuff is a matter of doing it often and practicing with your tasks and your domain expertise to figure out what works and what doesn't. And fear is an undercurrent here. This is the thing that holds a lot of people back from starting or experimenting in their work. It's also because their bosses don't give them permission or incentives to do this. So fear is an undercurrent to this whole talk today. But Ethan Mollick says here, you can become a world expert in your domain by just asking, using AI a lot at the job tasks that you have in your context. And this is really important, right? You can become augmented, right? It's not about replacing you, it's about making you better. So is it a job killer? Well, yes and no. Did all the jobs disappear when PCs arrived on everyone's desks? I remember that. I'm old enough. No, it didn't. Did Lotus 123 enable people to run their businesses off a spreadsheet? No. Did it kill accountants? No. They're still around. They're doing different things. Did GUIs change absolutely everything? Of course they did, but people adapted to these changes in terms of their coding work. And when the web came along in the 90s, we embraced that and eventually e-commerce, and that changed tons of jobs too, right? They were very different afterwards. And if you didn't get with PC coding, or you didn't get with GUI coding, or you didn't get with web coding or coding for mobile and responsive, then there was simply less demand for you, right? This is what has happened already in our industry, and AI skills is just a continuation of these sorts of things to me. And this is a great one to think about. Most of your jobs did not exist before 1995, unless your title is CEO or begins with C, right? I used to be a network analyst. That's no longer a job. And a lot of these jobs are either very different or they do not exist at all anymore. And like the dot-com boom and how that changed retailing, AI is just a new normality. We have to get used to this stuff. We're not going to turn back the tide. But there is a massive problem that I have beef about here, because lots of companies are holding off investing or hiring, right? Like, why hire more people if, oh, it only takes 5 people to build an app? We'll just like fire 5 people, or we won't hire the extra staff that the team needs, because companies are pricing in expected cost savings into their future without actually knowing how they're going to bloody arrive there, right? And this is a mistake, because humans are your most important asset to get to that future, to adapt, not die. Because the advantage in AI comes from those human skills that you have inside your company, which is needed to unlock the latent potential of AI. Without the humans, you fire all the humans, then you're just going to get garbage, right? This is the problem that people are not getting. But what about experimentation teams? Because I work with them a lot. I've had nearly 1,000 people through a workshop based on this book. It's completely free, download it. There's no catches, there's no course getting sold behind it or product wear, right? It's just a book with useful stuff that you can use to get stuff done. It also teaches you how to think using AI and how to check your results and have trust and faith in them. But we can see that experimentation teams are using this across the board through the entire life cycle, from research and discovery work all the way through to automating experiment and analysis and doing a fair bit of the coding work now. But this is highly task specific, as I mentioned before. There are lots of places that this can be used, but it can't do all of these things, and certainly not as well as a human in some cases. But there were four massive surprises that I had when working with these companies. And the first is to do with creativity. And all the resources are here. You can read up on them if you don't believe me. But I spent 2 days reading them, so you can do it too if you like. But what I can tell you is that most of the people listening to this, your creativity has been surpassed unless you're in the top 5% of most creative and idea filled people in the world. You're simply not as good as AI can be anymore to generate ideas given the same set of inputs, right? We're fallible as humans. We forget things. Oh yeah, oh like I'm a CRO person. I should know that idea, but I didn't, right? And it reminded me. So the problem though is that AI, unlike humans, it doesn't have agency or an internal life. It doesn't have bills and rent to pay, and it depends on the assistance of a human, right? So integrating human feedback into a great deal of these tasks is crucial for maximizing AI's creative potential, right? So how do we do that? Well, in the workshop, I get people to ideate using a whole load of research data from customers themselves and then compare it to the AI output. And what they discovered was the best list is a combination of the two, where I, as a human, pick the best ideas out of the two lists that I know that can be built, that management will be happy about, that I've got a chance of running an experiment around, right? And so the dope list is not AI only or human only. It's the combination of the two using human judgment that is critical, because AI is wonderful for divergent thinking, right? For thinking outside of the box, going a bit wider, coming up with really creative solutions. So it can power the diversity and uniqueness of ideas that you have flowing into your experimentation program, but it will also help you a little bit with the prioritization and convergence. But ultimately, the convergence bit is a human bit, right? You use your wisdom, judgment, discernment, political knowledge, company knowledge of your colleagues, right, to make the calls on what is actually done here. So AI for divergence, humans for convergence. We make the call. Critical thinking also gets a huge boost here. I've discovered with teams that when they're using real data from customer problems, right, they understand these problems better, right? So then when they write a problem statement, this actually connects back to the research in a profound way, right? There's actually relevance between the two. That then means that people can also get help forming a decent hypothesis, which then translates into doing a decent experiment design. So what I'm seeing with teams is they're getting higher quality ideas out of the same raw data. They're connecting stuff deeply to customer problems. They're getting better hypotheses and experiments and results out of it, right? Which means better win rates. Um, Number three is there's a skills boost here. Not only have we raised the ceiling of skills that people can reach, the skill level that they can reach, but we've raised the floor as well for new people coming in. It's faster to get employees up to speed as your highest performing people across a given task or role by augmenting people with AI, right? In simple terms, it compresses narrows the skills gap across roles within your company. And that is an interesting thing all in itself. But velocity is the biggest thing. I have an example in this deck for you, but it's removing human meeting decision making delay from the core repeatable process of experimentation, right, to achieve velocity. And we've got a lot of delay right now, and AI is actually helping remove chunk after chunk of that and speeding up this core flywheel that Lucas Vermeer talked about. So some real examples of stuff that people are doing. These are AI generated product images, simply insert the new bath next year, right? And redraw the image. So everything's painted in here. You can't tell they're AI images. They're incredibly good quality. And the company's even able to run an A/B test proving that it makes a significant difference if you have plants in the bathroom photos, right? You couldn't do that sort of stuff before, that's for sure, right? And it just makes this whole thing of creating the lifestyle imagery much faster and cheaper. And it's so easy to do now. The advances in image tools just over the last year have been phenomenal. You know, anyone using this stuff on a regular basis will have noticed this. If you haven't noticed it, where have you been? Um, Multi-site language translation using open source LLMs is really easy to do. A couple of LLMs is all you need. You can translate your e-com site on a continuous basis into many different languages, often to higher quality than commercial tools that cost several €100,000 a year. But call centers are getting optimized as well, just given the saves 5 or 10 minutes if you're. Oh, it's saying connection lost. It's saying reconnected now. Um, you can do automated call categorization and sentiment. There's contextual support for the agent to give helpful articles or information to the customer. You have pattern analysis and also being able to spot things, new problems you haven't had before as they crop up in real time. So this is massively changing the efficiency of call center operations. Even simple things like integrating LLM ideation into test repositories or backlogs, right? To have a look at an experiment or a series of experiments and suggest next steps and further ideas is, you know, changing completely how those people use those tools. Here's a great example for you. I spotted this in LinkedIn today. A team of 2 people doing 30 to 40 tests a month. That's a lot to ship, right? Just 2 people. Most agencies that are around are doing 1 or 2 tests per person per head count, right, in a team. So how are these guys doing like 10 times this? And the answer is they're using LLMs and automation. greptile for code reviews, Playwright MCP for setting up the feature flagging, Codex for doing all the experiment cleanup afterwards, right? And all the experiment analysis is automated, right? They're just wiping the time out that flywheel. So their ideas get into test much faster than they are before, right? If you're not thinking about this level of efficiency, it's already here. It's just unevenly distributed across different companies. But back to what the huge freaking problem is that I'm really pissed off about, right? We know that a lot of employees are using AI as part of their workflows. We can see the usage statistics and the amount of time that people are spending, right? We also know that there are huge productivity gains, right? I've seen massive productivity gains. It varies per task, but all of us who've been using these tools see this great stuff, right? But you know, so companies encourage their employees to use tools. They give them training, they give them access to GPT or some other corporate license, right? So it should all be tickety boo. So why are companies not reporting significant gains at an organizational level for this stuff? And the answer is because they fundamentally haven't changed the way that they work, right? They're still working with the old workflows, right? Just trying to AI them a bit, right? And individual level performance doesn't translate to organizational performance without all of these things that are under the water: the strategy, the investment, the experimentation and failure required, along with leadership, right? So you're not going to get this stuff until you actually change things, because no company, no matter what they tell you, what the agency or consultancy is, right? Nobody out there knows how best to use AI at your company. You do, right? Not even I know that. Nobody has a playbook right now for how to integrate AI into your workflows, right? You have that, nobody else, right? So, no vendors or gurus are required, right? Even AI companies release new models without even knowing how people are going to use them, right? Why should it be any different here? Because nobody really knows your industry, your organization, your job tasks and context like you do. And that is the secret sauce. So, what do leadership have to do here? Well, AI is a leadership problem, right? Not anybody else's. And Duolingo and Shopify and others have sent this memo around like, oh, hey, we're down with like AI and isn't it a cool new future, right? But they're not telling employees what they actually need to know, right? They've missed out what does this new world look like that we're all going to, right? Apparently skipping along, right? Because what these memos actually say is use AI. Here's a license. Go faster. Use AI or else. It's in your performance reviews now. Do more work with less people, Craig, right? If you get 80% saving, we expect you to do 80% more work. And my favorite one, we are on a journey together with butterflies. Ah, but what about the psychology? This is the problem in the situation because workers are not motivated by hand clappy AI encouragement or giving them a GPT license. They want to know how will our jobs change? Will you use AI to cut costs or grow the company? And is my job safe? Am I safe in this new world? Right. And most important of all, what is my reward or punishment for finding solutions? Will you just give me more work or fire the people in my team? Nobody knows because nobody's telling them. So Ethan Mollick sketches this out, and really AI success needs these three things: strategic direction from leadership, empowered teams that have freedom, capability to execute, and space and tooling and infrastructure to actually allow people to experiment, right? And he talks about three things: leadership, the crowd of people who are using AI tools who should be sharing stuff but aren't right now, and the lab, teams, cross-functional teams that are enabled to build prototype workflows and production solutions, right? But let's look at how eerily similar experimentation culture needed to be successful within organizations and the parallels with this AI experimentation. The same stuff is true, right? The bits in bold are the only differences between what is needed for AI experimentation culture to flourish and what is needed for A/B testing experimentation culture to flourish. So the two are organizational and cultural challenges to me in a lot of cases. And this is where the mistake is being made. If you want a good memo to read what a good leader actually should be saying to their staff about usage of AI within the company, read this by Kazi Kozarkov. It's absolutely brilliant. It's what all of the other people should have been sending out, including Shopify. So, is it a job creator or a destroyer, right? Well, company A buys an AI tool, fires five people, cuts the cost, gets in a race to the bottom, loses out to nimbler competitors, and ends up effectively competing with AI only solutions or low human solutions, right? That's one choice. Company B invests in this stuff, improves the quality, finds higher value and margin, and is surfing a new industrial revolution whilst also competing on the quality of their outputs. And I'm not saying these are the two only choices. I'm just saying these are very stark ends that some companies are sitting at right now. And it shouldn't be like that. You all need to get down with this because it's about augmentation, not replacement. In order to be a good user researcher with AI, you need a good user researcher. AI is not a good user researcher on its own, and it lacks all of these things: judgment, discernment, wisdom, your experiential knowledge, and it can't do the final decision paths or be held accountable for this stuff. The convergence work I was talking about earlier on, right? That's where we are needed. AI needs humans to realize its full potential. So what do you do next? Well, you can have a fart around with the book, you can ask me about a workshop, but mainly what you should just go off and do is start playing with Lego. That's what this stuff is like. It's fun, except you're building the future of how you make and optimize products. Because you don't need any prompt engineering courses or any of this BS stuff floating around, right? Because where we are going, we're not going to need no stinking prompts. Thank you for your time today. Let me know if you have any questions. Deck and book link are there if you want either of them.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Craig. This was really nice, and I love how you talk.
Thank you.
Like it's I feel like people are understanding things much better because like the way you present it, it's absolutely amazing. So thank you so much for joining our session. I'm wondering, because we did not get any questions in the chat, I have a question. Like, if you were to give one piece of advice to owners, like things that you would wanted to hear yourself when you were younger or less experienced or stuff like that, what would you tell them? Like,
Advice
what is something? Oh,
to whom?
I'm making that question too long. To brand owners,
Yeah.
or basically the people that are running the
Yeah,
show.
the this is changing at a different rate, right? In order to understand the fractal edges of what is possible with these tools, that means continually experimenting with them. That means that what you can't make work this week might work next week, but you're not going to know if you're not if you don't have skin in the game. So the advice I would give would be to over index on staff, right? Who's going to run all this AI stuff inside your company? Your existing engineers? Are you kidding? They're already busy, right? So you have to over index on investment, staff, and resource in order to make the transition, right? Otherwise, you will be one of the companies that are left behind, still achieving the same throughput as humans did, but humans without AI. So you can be running your experiments the same way you used to and doing one or two per month per head, or you could be running 10 times that much, right? And then it becomes much more about the quality of ideas that go into this stuff. The execution becomes a lot simpler. It's not removing humans, it's allowing humans to run 10 times as many tests as they could before. So over
Yeah,
index,
all right, thank you so
over
much. I
invest. Otherwise, you'll be like a horse and carriage company when motor cars come out, right? There were very few horse and carriage companies survived the transition to the motor car. Don't be one of them.
Yeah, that's very true. I feel like during this session today that has been going on for 4 hours now, there have been some recurring topics, and one of them is definitely look at what's new, don't have a closed mindset, and always be open to explore and test out new ideas. Yeah, because, and I feel like this is we are, most of us are sometimes getting stuck in our old ways, because they always have brought us success, if they brought us success. If not, we are always trying new things and testing around and
Yeah,
stuff like that.
there's one point
So,
just to mention when people were talking earlier on about user research or raw text. I think
mhm.
there's an article that I'll share with you, but basically LLMs don't encode text data like humans do, right? If we think about how we analyze large lumps of text, LLMs are doing it in a fundamentally different way and not the same way that a UX researcher would actually do it. And you need to understand that before you start querying text, hoping to get amazing insights out of it, because it doesn't work the way that you probably think it does, right? So this is where the experimentation comes in. You will realize where it is and isn't working. And it doesn't do everything magically. You have to figure this out. And there's only one way to do that: get on the bike.
Yeah, I totally agree. All right. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else that you would like to say to our audience?
No, keep up the good work, and it's a cultural issue. I think the same thing has happened with experimentation. So I think we need to be pushing companies to change what leadership do. Leadership, very few of people that I know in leadership are actually talking about how they use AI, right? And that sets something important to all employees. If you say, yeah, we're using it for our board meetings, but it's terrible, right? It gets all the words wrong and like the summaries aren't very good, right? What you're saying to people is, hey, it's okay to fail and experiment with this stuff. Look, they're trying it out for their board meetings, right? Oh, we should give it a go too. You're kind of saying, I'm in this too, right? I'm also playing with AI tools, and that implicitly sets permission for people to experiment with themselves, knowing that there isn't a punishment for failing or trying, right? And that's what experimentation's all about.
Yeah, that's right. I feel like we are the good leaders are pushing their employees and people around them in the good direction, and this is where you find out who is a good leader and who's just the boss. You
Yeah.
know.
Set them free. Please set your employees free to rewire your company using AI. That is how to do it.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much, Craig. We are at the end of our session. I will see you, Craig, around here. If people want to find you, what's the best way to do that?
Find me on LinkedIn. Just message me.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. All right. Well, this is the end of the session. I hope everyone enjoyed it because I definitely did. I plan on doing this much often, and I hope everyone will stick around for that as well. And now that the sun is almost down and I can barely see my face in the screen, I can thank you all for staying here for 4 hours and 11 minutes because I still see people online. Thank you for asking questions. I will be sending out a survey to see how well we performed because we are big fans of surveys. We implement that to our customers, and obviously we want to assess how we've been doing. And yeah, now I can finally let my cat in my room because he's been meowing at my door for 2 hours. All right, I will see you around. Bye bye.